prayer. We'll all say it together, the long front prayer. Okay. Mother
of perpetual help, with the greatest confidence we come before your holy picture to be inspired by the example of your life. We think of you at that moment when, full of faith and trust, you accepted God's call to be the mother of His Son. Help us, your children, to accept with joy your own calling in life. When you learned that your cousin Elizabeth was in need, you immediately went to serve her and offer your help. Help us, like you, to be concerned for others. We think of you, Mother, at the foot of the cross. Your heart must have bled to see your Son in agony. But your joy was great when he rose from the dead, victorious over the powers of evil. Mother of sorrows, help us through the trials and disappointments of life. Help us not to lose heart. May we share with you and your Son the joy of having courageously faced up to all the challenges of life. Amen.
Oh, Mother, this is such a wonderful, awesome opportunity to be able to talk about our mother today on this very special day. Let me really think about all the ways that she helps us in our lives, in every stage of our life. And even if we feel distant from her for whatever reason, and a lot of people do, and I did for a very long time.
Can you talk a little louder?
I will try, okay? I will try. We don't have any, no. I will do, yeah, I'll do my best. Don't turn that off because it's really hot. I'll project, okay? Is that good? Okay, good. So I forgot what I was just saying, so we'll just move on to the next thing. But do raise your hand if I'm not being loud enough, okay? Because I know how that is. I spent this whole past weekend leading a retreat, and I was one of the retreat leaders. I couldn't hear any of the other ones who spoke, and it was exhausting. And I was so upset because I couldn't hear because I'm actually losing my hearing. That's hopefully our Mother Perpetual help will help us. But it affects my ability to speak loud too, so I don't always know if I'm speaking loud or not. So thank you. So this is the icon, this is the image that we have. And like many of the pictures that we're surrounded with here, like the picture of the Sacred Heart, or we are very familiar with the image of Divine Mercy. It has a very dramatic history, this image, which was first traced back to the 1495. Okay, the original image is a long, ancient, and it was ancient at that time, this image. So nobody really knows, the original very origin, but this is an image that was very old and very central to the spirituality and to the expression of the religion of the people of the very early church, as Mary as our mother, who was always willing to help. And it was enshrined in Crete. I'm going to kind of go through the life of this poor image that has gone through an awful lot. And it was the Turks then invaded Crete. It was venerated, and people knew that to be a miraculous image way back then. But someone kind of carried it off when the Turks came, and they say that's a nice way of saying it was actually stolen. It was actually stolen by a merchant who went to Rome and promptly got very, very ill because he stole the image, right? So on his deathbed, he begged his friend to put this in a prominent place, because he kind of knew he made a mistake, basically. That's how the legend goes. And he wanted this image to be venerated in the place where it needed to be, where others could understand how much Our Lady loved them and wanted to help them. But what happened was the friend's wife wanted to keep it for herself, and she did. And she put it up over her mantle, and it stayed there. And then the man, what do you think happened? He got kind of sick himself. And the Blessed Mother appeared to him and said, I want that, and I want it between St. Lateran, John Lateran, and St. Mary Major. I want it in a church there. And that didn't happen because the wife didn't want that to happen. So on his deathbed, the Blessed Virgin appeared for 3 times, she did. And he couldn't get his wife to part with it. And she warned him that if this didn't go, that he was not going to live, and he didn't. So then, what happened was she appeared to their 6-year-old child, and she appeared to at the same time to the woman in a dream, and to the 6-year-old child, and she finally got it. Right? She finally said, oh my gosh, yes, I must get rid of this image. I've got to put it up where it needs to be venerated and everybody should see it. And then she talked to her girlfriend about it, the neighbor. The neighbor said, that's just a bunch of crap. Basically. That's not true. That's not. You don't have to. You can keep it. So that was not good. But finally, the little girl got through. And the image was finally placed at St. Matthew's on March 27th, 1499. The Virgin said, you just need to do it. And finally, it was done. And there was a procession held, obviously, and there were miracles that happened right then and there. A paralyzed man on the procession on the way was cured. And so, immediately, this image became very, very important to the Catholic world, to the world in general, right? And that's where it stayed. It stayed for 300 years there in that place until 1796 when St. Matthew's was completely leveled by Napoleon. And this image was the Augustinian monks took it. They took it to a church with them, and put it in just a regular old church, but it was not venerated at all. And once again, it was kind of lost, and it ended up kind of in the back of a church without a prominent place. And then, but there was a very old Brother Augustine told the story of this image. What I guess ended up maybe in an attic or a closet or something like that. He told this young boy called by the name of Michael Marquis that the image was special, and that he should never forget this conversation that you have with me. I want you to remember this image always. So he became a Redemptorist priest, and so in 1855 he became a Redemptorist, and he told his Redemptorist brothers about this image, and they said, "Oh, that's really nice, that's great," but they didn't do anything about it. And then a Jesuit came to town, a missionary priest came to town, and he was lamenting the loss of this image. And Father Marquis said, "No, it's not lost. I know exactly where that image is, because Brother Augustine told me about it." And so they're like, "Oh, great, good. Let's put it where it belongs." But it took another 3 years for us to move, and it was still kind of hidden. And but Mary's plea, again, was to have it where it belonged, in that place. So finally, the head of the Redemptorist order petitioned Pope Pius IX, and he said, I want to bring the image into the church where it belongs. And so Pope Pius IX said, absolutely yes. And I want to be the first one that's in the confraternity. I want to be the first one that says that this image belongs where it is. I command you and I tell you, he said, make her known to all the world. And that was in the 1800s, in the mid-1800s, and that's what the Redemptorists have been doing all since then. They're trying to make her image, and it is. It's the most remarkable and it's the most known image, icon of the Blessed Mother. And they do to this day spend most of their time promoting all of this literature and all of this so that we can understand the icon and understand why it's still important that we venerate and contemplate and take in and pray icons in our life today. I think probably now more than ever, we need to do this differently in our lives. We need to allow the spiritual part of our beings to come alive in different ways. Our churches are not very sacred in many ways. Sometimes the liturgy can be sort of, I don't know, it's not raised like it used to be. So these kind of images become an understanding how they speak to us in our spirits is really good for our times, I think. And I just want to say that you're going to notice that there's some different ways the image is presented. Sometimes there's a crown on them, and sometimes there isn't. And the reason why that is the original image did not have crowns at all. But in 1867, the Vatican ordered crowns to be placed on the image because of all of the miracles that were happening because of the image, that it just brought to bear that the glorified roles that we need to contemplate for Jesus and Mary in our lives is really, that's what it's supposed to be. We're supposed to be contemplating them as glorified, honored,